Welcome back, everybody, to the video. Today we're doing our Week 7 NFL picks. Last week was a pretty interesting week. I had a couple upsets I picked that just honestly didn't really turn out to be upsets. And then games that I did not pick to be upsets were upsets, kind of like the Browns and 49ers game. So really all over the place there. Hopefully we can bounce back a bit better this week with some of our upset picks. And starting out Thursday night with the Jaguars and the Saints. I think this will be a pretty close game, but overall, I think the Jaguars are starting to kind of heat up a little bit. I'm going to pick them in this game. One thing to note, though, is I am picking this as if Trevor Lawrence is good to go. From what I've heard, I think he's going to play. I think he said that he'll be available to play. I guess we'll see in the game if it kind of limits his mobility or what that kind of means. So, assuming the injury's like not that big of a deal, I think it's a sprain, I want to say. Assuming it's not too bad, I'm going to pick the Jaguars. If it like really limits him, then the Saints have a real shot to get 2 and force turnovers and actually win this game. So I'm picking the Jaguars, but we'll see how that injury goes. But that's my Thursday night pick right there. And then Sunday, Lions and Ravens. This should be a very good game. I'm going to pick the Lions in this. I've tried to be very consistent with my off-season projections. Like I was very high on the Lions all off-season, picked them to win the division this year. And then now that they're starting to kind of get some wins piling up, I'm trying to stick with them, and I'm going to pick them to beat the Ravens as well. The Ravens have just not looked as strong as I would have liked them to. 4-2 record obviously is very good, but I do feel like they are a little shaky on offense at times, and I wish they were a bit more explosive on offense as well. Still good. I mean, 4-2 team in the AFC North, still a good team, but I like the Lions a lot more, at least as of right now. So I'm picking the Lions in that one. And then Raiders and Bears. So again, this is another interesting one. I believe Garoppolo is going to be out Sunday, it sounds like. He has a back issue. I think he dodged a more serious back injury, but I think it's going to still keep him out this weekend. And so then with that kind of out of the way, I'm not sure who's playing for him. I'm not sure if it's Aiden O'Connell, the rookie, or if it is Brian Hoyer. So, that's kind of to note there. And then on the Bears side, I don't think Justin Fields is playing either because of his dislocated thumb. So very tough game to pick because we'll have 2 backup quarterbacks actually playing most likely on Sunday. So I'm going to pick the Raiders because in my mind, I don't think the Bears get better without Fields, and they're already 1-5. So I don't see their odds being super high to win this game or really any game without Fields in there. So I'm going to pick the Raiders. But really it's going to come down to what the offenses look like with those backups in there. It's really hard to pick that not knowing how it's going to look. So I'm just going to pick the Raiders because I have more faith in the team as a whole than I do the Bears. But again, that game could really be up in the air. And then Browns and Colts. So again, Deshaun Watson, I think, kind of said his status is like up in the air basically for Sunday. So there's that. And then of course, Gardner Minshew has looked good at times. He beat the Ravens and then turns around, throws 3 interceptions to the Jaguars, and it was a pretty bad divisional matchup last week. So I'm going to pick the Browns in this game, but I'm going to be completely honest. There's not a lot of confidence in that pick. What's really making me want to pick them is because of how they played last week with P.J. Walker in there. They knocked out the 49ers, and I really think they can still beat the Colts, even without Deshaun Watson in there, but I do wish I knew for sure what that was going to look like. And then for the Colts, you now have Minshew in the rest of the year with Anthony Richardson being out the whole season because of that shoulder surgery. So, a lot of things to kind of consider in a few of these games, honestly, as far as injuries go. But I'm going to pick the Browns in that. I think I am confident enough in P.J. Walker after seeing him last week beat the 49ers. So I think he can beat the Colts this week as well and get 2 in a row. So I'm going with the Browns in that game. And then Bills and Patriots, I'm picking the Bills. The Patriots offense, I just have zero faith in. I think it's a very, very bad offense, very dysfunctional, very inconsistent, and not a lot of good weapons either. So I'm picking the Bills. Again, divisional matchup, you never know. Maybe they'll upset each other, or maybe someone will upset the other in those kind of divisional games, but I just don't see it happening, at least in my opinion. So I'm picking the Bills in that game. And then the Commanders and the Giants, again, another big divisional matchup here. I have no idea if Daniel Jones is playing it or not. I'm not sure if they've said. I'm not sure if they're going to say even today. I have no idea. I'm going to pick Washington. I think either way, they beat the Giants, but I would like to know if obviously who the Giants quarterback is. So a little annoying there. I'm going to pick Washington. I think I'm still pretty confident in that pick. But again, I do wish I knew like what to expect fully. But Tyrod Taylor did not do that bad of a job last week. So, maybe he'll give Washington a game. Who knows? But I'm picking Washington to win that game. And then next is the Falcons and the Buccaneers. This is a very big divisional matchup. Probably the biggest divisional matchup this week because both teams are right there for first place in the NFC South. I am going to pick the Buccaneers. I know that might be a bit of a weird pick. And especially because, okay, well, hold on here. So, first off, I'm picking that as if Baker Mayfield is playing. He's listed as questionable. I think he's supposed to play. If he does not play, then I'm picking the Falcons, but I know I can't really, do that. So, I have to just kind of take my shot in the dark there. I'm picking the Buccaneers, assuming Mayfield's playing. If he's not playing, I would assume the Falcons win, but I'm sticking with the Buccaneers either way to make my pick fair in that way. But the reason I'm picking the Buccaneers is because, honestly, I have liked the way Baker has played this year. And, I mean, his losses have been against divisional opponents, I believe. He lost to the Saints and just the Lions, not a divisional opponent, but a very good team. So, I don't know. I kind of like the way he's played, though. I mean, even against the Lions, they're a very good team. He didn't play great, but they only lost by, 14 points, I think. So, it's not the worst season we've seen from Baker Mayfield. I think he can still lead them, to the playoffs because of the way this division is. The NFC South is really wide open. And also, what I've seen from Ridder recently, I can't pick the Falcons and be confident about it because of that. I love the Falcons offense otherwise. I think it's really, really good. But Ridder just makes some very odd mistakes as far as turnovers go. And not to say Baker Mayfield doesn't, but what we've seen this year, he hasn't really done that too much. So I'm picking the Buccaneers. That's a very, very tough game to pick, at least in my opinion. But I'm going with the Buccaneers. And then Steelers and Rams. I think this will be a pretty good game. But I'm going to pick the Rams in it. I do like the Rams offense a lot more than I like the Steelers offense. I think the Steelers offense is pretty bad. I think Kenny Pickett's been very inconsistent and a bit underwhelming this season. But again, I know Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, is just so horrible with his play calling. So I know it goes really either way there. As far as where the blame goes, but either way, I'm going to pick the Rams. I think the Rams have actually been a nice surprise this year. They're not, good. I mean, okay, they are pretty good. They're not great, but they're not as bad as what their projections were, especially from what I thought they were going to be like this year. So I'm going to pick the Rams. I think it'd be a pretty nice win for them too, to be 4-3, and especially in their division because you had the 49ers in there and the Seahawks, so it's pretty close with those three teams. But a big game for the Steelers as well because again, the AFC North is very, very close right now as well. But I'm picking the Rams in that one. I think it'll be a pretty close game, maybe even pretty low scoring, but I do have the Rams winning that game. And then Cardinals and Seahawks. I'm going to pick the Seahawks in this game. The Seahawks lost a pretty bad Week 1 game to the Rams, a game they probably like to have back. And even last week against the Bengals, you probably wish you could have that game back as well. Both of those games, both their losses were very, very winnable. So I feel like this game, they're bouncing back. They're beating the Cardinals. I don't think the Cardinals are really going to show a whole lot more the rest of the season because it's not like it's crazy. They're not really expected to this year. They upset the Cowboys. That was a big time win, but overall, they just don't have the players at this point. But, Kyler Murray coming back pretty soon will be interesting. See if he can maybe turn the offense around a bit or just kind of maybe get a few wins in there. But again, I guess there's also the question of even do you want those wins or do you just kind of want to lose out, get a high pick, who knows. But I'm picking the Seahawks. Divisional game, I don't think it honestly will be very close, probably 10 points or more. But I have the Seahawks in that game. And then next is the Packers and the Broncos. I'm picking the Packers. I see a very low scoring game though. I think it's going to be a very boring game. I feel like a lot of Broncos games are, to be honest with you. And when it comes down to this game, I don't like the Broncos offense. It's just so... It's not even that it's inconsistent. It's just I don't even know what I'm watching. I never know what to expect. So I'm picking the Packers. I know the Packers have been very shaky as well. But I have more faith in the Packers than I have the Broncos. And that's really what it comes down to at that point. Then Chargers and the Chiefs. This is going to be my upset of the week. I am picking the Chargers over the Chiefs in this game. The Chargers usually play the Chiefs very, very well. They always kind of have it up to the final, minute or two, and they always lose it. I am picking the Chargers to actually finish it out and get a big win. Last week, they've had some very tough losses this year. They lost to the Titans. They lost to the Cowboys just last week. So their record could be a lot different than what it looks like. I think they're better than what their record shows as well. So I'm picking the Chargers in that game, and in Kansas City too. So it'd be a big time win, but that's how I'm going to pick that one. And then a huge huge Sunday night game, the Dolphins and the Eagles. The last I checked on like the ESPN pick'em thing, it was like 50-50 as far as people picking that game goes. I'm picking the Dolphins. I liked what I've seen for the Dolphins. They're number one in my power rankings this week, and they've been one of the best offenses in the league. With that said, though, the Eagles, of course, are a very good team, and Hurts played very bad last week. He did not play very well. They blew that little lead they had to the Jets. So I'm picking the Dolphins. I don't see Hurts having 2 bad weeks in a row, though. That was my point in saying that before. So I think it'll be a close game. I think he'll play well. But I do have the Dolphins coming to Philadelphia and winning that game. But it should be a very good one. And I'm very excited to watch that game. Probably game of the week, in my opinion. And finally, Monday night. So again, this is one that will come down to injuries because it seems like, 49ers are the easy pick here. But they lost Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey to injuries last week. And I know they've said that McCaffrey could play Monday night. I haven't heard anything about Deebo. I have no idea. But McCaffrey playing and McCaffrey being healthy are two very different things. So, again, I think, I'm going to pick the 49ers. But if they do not have Deebo or McCaffrey, even like at their full, like normal workload, this game could be a lot closer than people expect them to be. Because the Vikings, again, kind of like the Chargers, could have a much different record because they've had some very close calls in some of those games. So I'm picking the 49ers. I think it could be a bit surprising how close the game might be at times. But I do think overall the 49ers are just a better team. That's what it comes down to in the end. But those are my Week 7 NFL picks. Comment down below what you guys agree with, disagree with, what your favorite team is going to do this week, all that kind of stuff. If you guys are new to my channel, make sure to subscribe for more NFL Week picks. I do this every week. I do power rankings every week, random NFL videos on random players, all kinds of news stuff like that. I also do Madden videos where we do gameplays. We have a No Money Spent series. We do pack openings, new permanent content news, all that kind of stuff. So it's always football content on the channel, one way or another. So thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.